The second batch of 3 are axles arrived. So, this switch has been quite popular recently, right? A switch that strikes a great balance between sound and feel. It's been a month or two since the arm was used. Still conservatively positive, then today's video. Let's take a look at its charm. On the outside, it's a cool white shell with a slightly bluish tint. The axle is more like a primary color. Overall, it's quite plain but still very pleasing to the eye. Material selection. Ceramic Firepower Foam Core Sword. Jikes L4 is also a foam shell. This second batch offers 3 pressure options, with a 22mm single option available. With the springs, the version starts with 37 and 42 to launch. The 20mm spring corresponds to a 42-gram actuator 48. The gram bottom is a version with a more oily version. The last 18mm spring corresponds to 48 grams. This central force version triggers the 55-gram bottom. 2.0 trigger cycle. The 3.7 bottom stroke is an extended circumference centerpiece. Advance the linear axis of the cross center. In terms of sound, first of all, noise control is not an issue. In tier mode, there is only a slight friction sound. Normal use, there's no playback or noise from high-quality separation. First, the bottoming out is quite crisp, but it was still different from the sharp, concentrated, crisp sound of the common emishi. The height of the sound is almost level. This is considered very high frequency, but the width and thickness are a bit different. The unclear bottoming out feels like a tightly gathered shape. It's that very concentrated feeling. Sera is the kind of open-minded approach. It's noticeably wider with a slightly more radiant feel. Although this may not be quite accurate at a glance, just like the mid-tier purple circle with Cebu, which is soft and high, the difference between snowy scenery and cocoa softness. So, it's easier to imagine. Both are crispy, but the crispy ones are a bit different. Then comes the sound of the lid bouncing back. GNK has always used this crispy soft. Apply the mesh pattern of the rebound contact surface. This thing has a significant impact on the hand body in terms of sound. This makes the rebound sound less and muffled. This cover is used on some mute switches. For example, Y3 Ranches V2 and Shinobu Kocho, among others. The effect is that even when you expose it, it's still stuffy. The rebound is also stuffy. The overall effect is excellent. This is also why the Ku-Gate Xiangzhou is established. Lately, it's probably the most comfortable among these 3. If you use this stuff on a crispy stream, it doesn't seem so pure, like violent magic packs of cats. But when it comes to their groundwork and the heart of Huimu, the switch is basically the same. But overall, the crisp sound is just that feeling. The problem with the unlucky heart lies in the rebound sound. This is the one I prefer with the emerald shaft. When using this kind of rebound to keep the jade shaft shut, it makes you want to spit bullets. But that feeling of blockage in my throat and eyes is clear. After all that, the look of the Seiya shaft on the shaft hasn't changed this time. But after adjusting the field lubrication, the rebound area is no longer lubricated. Logically, the brittleness of burst magic should be higher than that of Sera. But in reality, after the superiors replied, it was dull. In this state of continuous hitting, Sera actually gives off a strong impression. More like that fragile powerhouse. Let's compare the sounds of the 2, and the sound of the single rebound lid. This isn't about putting down any particular thing. It mainly depends on personal preference. Personally, then I still want this kind of rebound. There is still some feedback. The axle also feels more comfortable to use. Let's listen to the typing sound performance on the full kit. In terms of feel, this switch is the advantage. Wild motion control is probably the loosest among recent recommended classes. The control of the volume during the startup process is quite precise. When you say it's loose, you can feel it a bit tight, but you say it's tight. It is upright and loose. Anyway, it just feels like Masato's life is really good. First, because the lid is not lubricated when activated. It just feels crisp in the hand. It basically recreates the grand pressure and curve changes. There was no lag or blockage. Because it's a flat bottoming axle column, the bottoming feedback is very moderate. The feel of the bottom is also quite firm. It's no exaggeration to say it's the most comfortable switch among recent switches. Compared to the very loose ones like the Jingwei family, you can still feel it being a bit tight. But this brocade doesn't affect your daily use, and that's not right. Pressing during use causes discomfort and a sense of discomfort. So on the night of the 17th of this month, the 8-year restocking day, the price of 1.6 is still very attractive. If you're someone who cares a lot about how it feels, then buying it is definitely a great choice. But if you care about sound and still want a focused, crisp sound, and if you want to rebound and suck, then you still need to reconsider. So compared to the problem of corner break, this box doesn't have a single broken corner either. Optimized this openness issue. For example, the taste. I've also bought those pure POM switches. It was the smell of vomit. You really did have the chance to smell the second batch of these. If you get close to this jar to smell, there's still a bit of it, but it's perfectly fine to use it out there. No need to worry about that. That's it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you next time.